There we go. Hey, everybody. Good evening. Welcome back. This is A Flawed Man and my take on the Bible as we read through it. I am Stuart Davis, a deacon at a small town, or at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not here as a preacher. I haven't been to seminary, and I'm not a biblical scholar. But what I am is what I consider an average Christian and giving my thoughts and feelings to show exposure that being a Christian is a way of life that makes us that doesn't make us any different than anybody else, except for our belief and our faith in God and Jesus, and our striving to further our relationship with God and become closer to Him. If this is something you're interested in, I encourage you to like and subscribe to this channel. We will be discussing many topics related to Christianity and how it affects us as people. What to expect from getting used to or building your faith up to the point where you feel comfortable praying, studying God, studying the Word, and starting to gather at a church or whatnot. Now, I'm not trying to get you to join my congregation. I'm not trying to get you to join any type of special or donate to any special cause or charity. I'm just here to give exposure. Just here to show you that it's not a different planet that you live on when you are a Christian. You deal with the same struggles, and that's what we deal with. We deal with the same struggles that everybody else does. We're no different. The thing that separates us, again, is faith in God, and something that we want for everybody. Just like God, we want salvation for everybody. And so this is my way of kind of reaching out in how I do it. But we are starting on a whole new book of the Bible today, and I wanted to do this earlier than I'm doing it now. I was actually ready about 8:45, but then at some point yesterday we had our meter upgraded, and they cut the power. Didn't tell me. I was in the middle of work. Didn't tell me. Cut the power. We lost power, and that shut off my desktop, and apparently it cleared the cache too on my internet. So I had to re-sign into everything. I had some difficulty signing in through Microsoft. It's just been a big mess, and my computer's is in need of a good upgrading. I've upgraded some of the stuff recently. I got a new video card, but it was a decent video card. That's me complaining about my things, but let's get into what the real thing is. The real thing is I was delayed, much like Gandalf trying to get to Frodo and the rest of the hobbits. I was delayed. I was unable to get to you guys. Luckily, you guys shouldn't be in too much trouble waiting for me. But I do feel bad. But I have overcome. I've overcome, and I've started this, and for that you are privileged to see me this evening. So, and we are starting again in a brand new book. Well, the very next book. It's not new in the Bible. We're still very early on, especially if this is your first time tuning in. I've got approximately 20 other early episodes where we cover Genesis. They range everywhere from a half hour to an hour long, and it's just me giving a reading of the Bible and my reaction to it. Because a lot of times people think about reading the Bible, it's this very solemn, very serious, very drab, boring book of rules, and you think of King James writing. Nothing against you folks who are into the King James Bible, but very, very old English sounding, and just bland. But what a lot of people don't realize is there's a lot of biblical accounts of people that God has chosen throughout history, throughout the history of the Jews, to be honest with you, that God has picked who have been extraordinary in their own way. But at the same time, they've also been flawed. And they've also had their flaws. Now, we will come across from time to time extraordinary men whose flaws seem so so small that they're not even recorded. Joseph is one of them. Joseph is one of the ones that we see. We just got finished with him. There's an argument to be made that Noah was the same way. Like the Bible's pretty explicit that he is a very righteous man. I don't know if he stays that way after the flood, but Joseph's really the first person that you can go through and say, man, or one of the first anyway that you could go, man, that dude had it all together. But he was given a lot of challenges along the way, and he had plenty of opportunities to give up and quit, but he didn't. And it's important to know this as somebody who was blameless and righteous in many of the things he did, maybe a little naive at times. He didn't blame God for his situation, and he didn't give up and quit and said, look, I was the best I was, and look at where that landed me. No, got up and kept doing what was awesome, or kept doing what was right, kept on excelling in life, and he comes a long way. And he's part of the founding of the Israelites home in Egypt, but it doesn't stay a home for much longer. So we ended Genesis with the death of Joseph and the death of Jacob first, and then Joseph. So we roll right into the post-Joseph world of the Israelites. So chapter 1, Exodus. Israelites oppressed. Well, that didn't take long. These are the names of the sons of Israel who went into Egypt with Jacob, each with his family. So we're going to go through the 12 kids of Jacob are Joseph, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. The descendants of Jacob number 70 in all. Joseph was already in Egypt. Now Joseph and all of his brothers and all that generation died, but the Israelites were exceedingly fruitful. They multiplied greatly, increased in numbers, and became so numerous that the land was filled with them. It makes them sound like an infestation. Look at these Israelites everywhere. Then a new king, to whom Joseph meant nothing, came to power in Egypt. Sounds like a change in dynasty. Might be a good thing for us to cycle back with, and just talk about where in the Egyptian dynasties might this line up. But he comes in now. The first Egyptian pharaoh that we really know in this account with Joseph, very, very happy with Joseph. He blesses him greatly. This guy comes in. Joseph's dead, and probably might be a generation removed or so, and doesn't care who Joseph was, doesn't care what he did, doesn't owe him anything. Look, he said to his people, the Israelites have become far too numerous for us. Come, we must deal shrewdly with them, or they will become even more numerous, and, if war breaks out, join our enemies, fight against us, and leave the country. A little bit of paranoia going on there. But, there is a lot of times, especially in totalitarian rules, like we do have with a king or pharaoh, there is some paranoia. And just because you're paranoid doesn't mean people aren't out to get you. That's the old saying, even paranoids have enemies, right? But in this case, we don't really see any ill intentions from here. Now, we know that Jacob could be a little bit rough in his dealings with people, a little bit dishonest, but we don't see that. We just see that they are prospering. The Israelites are prospering. And when you see that the Israelites are prospering and they're growing in number, they might start to outnumber the Egyptians. You start to worry about your hold on the nation. So he said we need to do something, and not to sound like a 1930s 40s dictator, but he's looking for a solution for Israelites. So they put slave masters over them to oppress them with forced labor, and they built Pithom and Ramses as store cities for Pharaoh. But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread. So the Egyptians came to dread the Israelites and worked them ruthlessly. They still make them sound like an infestation. They multiplied and spread everywhere. They made their lives bitter with harsh labor in brick and mortar and with all kinds of work in the fields. In all their harsh labor, the Egyptians worked them ruthlessly. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shiphrah, and Puah. I hate these names in the Bible. That was one thing. I love the Bible. I love everything. Leviticus is a little bit boring, but the worst part about the Bible, if I'm going to give a critique, is that, and it's maybe a critique against me, I can't pronounce these names. I sound stupid when I do it. Anyway, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah. When you are helping the Hebrew women during childbirth on the delivery stool, if you see that the baby is a boy, kill him. But if it is a girl, let her live. The midwives, however, feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt had told them to. They let the boys live. Then the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and asked them, "Why have you done this? Why have you let the boys live?" Like, I literally asked you to do this thing, right? Were there only 2 midwives? Or maybe they were the main midwives and main Hebrew midwives, because if they are a multitude of Israelites around, I'm sure they don't have just 2. But he's asked them, why have you done this? I've given you explicit orders. The midwives answered Pharaoh, "Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They are vigorous and give birth before the midwives arrive." Clever. All right, we just don't get there in time. And if you were afraid, if you were a mom and you were expecting mother, afraid that your midwife was going to kill your baby if it was a boy, you might try to go into labor without one. But it sounded like the midwives were helping anyway, because feared God. Who's more powerful, God or Pharaoh? God or Pharaoh? Well, we're going to find out in the next few days who's more powerful. Who's more clever? Spoiler alert. We're not worshiping Pharaoh in this Bible. We're worshiping God. So, oh yeah, there are no more pharaohs anymore either, like today. Chapter 2, the birth of Moses. Moses. You know Moses? Most people know Moses. This is what Joseph was leading up to. Now a man of the tribe of Levi married a Levite woman, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Did I miss something? Hang on a second. My bad, guys. Stop this. Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They are vigorous and give birth before the midwives arrive. So God was kind to the midwives, and the people increased and became even more numerous. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families of their own. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people: "Every Hebrew boy that is born you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live." That's sexism, right? All right, now here we go. Birth of Moses. Now a man of the tribe of Levi married a Levite woman. She became pregnant, gave birth to a son. Saw that it was a fine child. She hid him for 3 months because they were supposed to kill the Hebrew baby boys. But when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying, and she felt sorry for him. "This is one of the Hebrew babies," she said. Probably went like, "Oh, look at the baby." So you know how you women are. We know how you are. And you know how it's like, oh, immediately. So a girl or a adolescent of noble birth is bathing and finds a baby. What is she going to do? I want to take it home with me. This is going to be my new pet, or my new little brother, or my kid. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter. Oh, so the sister just comes out. Hey, look at me. I was just popping along. You got a Hebrew baby? That's cool. I'm Hebrew. Shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? Yes, go, she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you. So the woman took the baby and nursed him. When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, I drew him out of the water. And man, if you're Moses' mom, how awesome do you think, how proud of you are you of your daughter? So in a time of distress and anxiety, out of fear and a last-ditch effort, you put your kid in a basket, throw it out the river. You just want them to float to safety, and you may pretty much thinking you're not going to see him anymore. But your daughter, either from your own direction just to keep an eye on him, or on her own initiative, follows him down, sees that Pharaoh's daughter of all people finds him, and then pretends like she just stumbled on there. It's like, oh, do you need somebody? Do you need a Hebrew woman to do this, be the nursemaid? She was like, yeah, sure. Oh, I know just the one. And goes and gets you, the mom, and says, hey, guess what? Guess what I just did? Guess what deal I just worked out? But eventually, she has to give him back up because Pharaoh's daughter wants her kid, wants her puppy or whatever, and named him Moses. And how is this? Drew him out of the water. Moses flees to Midian. Wow, he was running away already? What is this? One day, after Moses had grown up, he went out to where his own people were and watched them at their hard labor. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people. Looking this way and that, and seeing no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. That escalated quickly. The next day he went out and saw two Hebrews fighting. He asked the one in the wrong, why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew? The man said, who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian? Then Moses was afraid and thought, what I did must have become known. Okay, pause here real quick. There's a big gap from Moses. Moses, I'm assuming he is being treated like royalty and is considered somewhat royalty, or at least having ties to royalty, because he is the adopted son of Pharaoh's daughter. Makes him a prince of some type. But he seems to know that he is a Hebrew. So there is some sort of communication, whether it came from Pharaoh's daughter or his mom or his sister, who knows. But he does have some attachment to being a Hebrew. Does still identify as a Hebrew, and he sees an Egyptian man beating one because that's what they were doing. They were oppressing. They were treating him like crap. He sees beating him up and didn't see anybody looking, and so he killed him. Just like that. The next day, this is foreshadowing. The next day he goes, he sees his fellow Hebrews are fighting each other. So he goes on, why are you doing this? And what does the man say? Look, he goes, what, you think you're ruling over us? You gonna kill me too, just like that other guy? It's a really sarcastic answer from a guy who just killed a guy to defend one of you. Thus, we see what this might be the first inkling of the problems that the Israelites have as a people. Ingratitude, quick to forget, and quick to bite the hand that feeds them at times. This is the beginning. This is like the first red flag that starts waving. It's not Jacob's kids selling Joseph into slavery. That's just jealousy, and that's just sibling rivalry escalated to a point that they shouldn't have gone to. No, this is it. This is the red flag that says Israel is the Israelites are not a people very thankful for anything done to them, and this is going to be a theme throughout the Old Testament. Just you wait and see. And then Moses, okay, so now Moses is like, oh crap, now people know, and they're talking, like outwardly talking, to the point where you're not even respecting me. You saw me murder, or you heard about me murdering a man, and you're going to mock me openly? You got to get the hell out of Dodge. When Pharaoh heard of this, see, people running their mouths, he tried to kill Moses. But Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in Midian, where he sat down by a well. Now a priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came to draw water and fill the troughs to water their father's flock. Some shepherds came along and drove them away, but Moses got up and came to their rescue and watered their flock. When the girls returned to rule their father, he asked them, why have you returned so early today? They answered, an Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the flock. And where is he? Reuel asked his daughters. Why did you leave him? Invite him to have something to eat. Oh, that's a very... So now we've got some gratitude here. Good on him. He must look and still be dressed as an Egyptian, because that's what they identified him as immediately here. So, but Moses is on the run. He's a fugitive now. Pharaoh's tried to kill him. They didn't give him a whole lot of leeway either. I would like to know, because the 10 Commandments is a movie. I think Charlton Heston is in it. I've seen it a few times. Haven't seen it in a while. I think it's good. Might be a good time for me to watch it, to rewatch it. But it's a very good movie. But it talks about, or it kind of addresses Moses as a kid and whatnot. But I think there's a point in there where where he kills the Pharaoh, and then, or he not kills Pharaoh. He kills an Egyptian, and then there's some strife between him and Pharaoh at that point. But Pharaoh not taking anything. He killed an Egyptian. He is still a Hebrew. He knows it probably. He tries to kill Moses. Moses get the heck out of Dodge. And so he comes across some nice ladies, and so he's nice to them, doing the chivalrous thing and coming to their aid. And so the ladies get back to their dad, and she tells him, he's like, hey, invite him to eat, Never bad to have an Egyptian as a friend, unless he's an outcast. Moses agreed to stay with the man, who gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses in marriage. Oh yeah, quick! Hey, did you water my sheep? Oh, that's so great. Marry my daughter. Gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses in marriage. Zipporah gave birth to a son, and Moses named him Gershom, saying, I have become a foreigner in a foreign land. That's a pretty well-known saying. During that long period, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out, and their cry for help because of their slavery went up to God. God heard their groaning, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham and Isaac and with Jacob. So God looked on the Israelites and was concerned about them. And I don't think this means concerned like he was worried about them. I think this was concerned as in, okay, and now it's time for me to intervene. Now this is now part of what the time has come for me to start coming through with my covenant with Abraham. Now he's already blessing them. We see him interceding with the midwives, fearing him, and he's being rewarded. The people are being rewarded for their good behavior in that aspect, but they're still under oppression. But they're multiplying. And they're everywhere, right? Like we have an infestation of Israelites in Egypt. They're everywhere. The Egyptians might think that these guys are the first plague. Oh wait, did I say too much? Did I spoil it that there's going to be plagues? It's a plague of Israelites. But so the king dies. So where do we end up? So the king dies, and but the Israelites are still slaves. Moses in the burning bush. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. Wait, I thought his name was Reuel. Girls returned to Reuel, their father. Moses agreed to stay with the man, who gave him his daughter to Zipporah. But now it's got this Jethro guy. Okay, maybe he changed his name. Hey, Jacob did it to Israel. Of course, that was at the command of God. Anyway, so now rule is Jethro. You got to say it like that, especially since he's a farmer. The priest of Midian. Well, he's a farmer and a priest. And he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There, the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, I will go over and see this strange sight. Why the bush does not burn up? Or why doesn't the bush burn up? I don't know. He's curious. I'd be curious too. It would be a little weird. Maybe not distressing to the point where I would be like scared, but just kind of like, what the heck? When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, Moses! Moses! And Moses said, Hey, here I am. Do not come any closer, God said. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Then he said to him, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. Remember all of them. There's going to be a quiz on this later. And now, the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now, go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, Moses said to God, that sounds like some back talk. Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? Okay, some humility here. I'm a nobody. And God said, I will be with you, and this will be the sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. Moses said to God, suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? Then what shall I tell them? Moses is covering his bases here. He's got some questions. Okay, yeah, hey, I want you to lead the people out of Israel. Oh, just me against the empire of Egypt. What am I supposed to do about that? I'll be with you. Oh, okay, I've got God with me. All right, that's good. So I get the Israelites, and I say that you're with me. And they might be a little suspicious if some man out of the wilderness comes out of nowhere saying God's with him. So they ask him, well, what's his name? God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. I am the great I am. God also said to Moses, say to the Israelites, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name you shall call me from generation to generation. Go, assemble the elders of Israel, and say to them, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared to me and said, I have watched over you and have seen what has been done to you in Egypt. And I have promised to bring you up out of your misery in Egypt into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey. The elders of Israel will listen to you. Then you and the elders are going to the king of Egypt and say to him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. Let us take a 3-day journey into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God. But I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless a mighty hand compels him. So I will stretch out my hand and strike the Egyptians with all the wonders that I will perform among them. After that, he will let you go. And I will make the Egyptians favorably disposed towards this people, so that when you leave, you will not go empty-handed. Every woman is to ask her neighbor, and any woman living in her house for articles of silver and gold and for clothing, which you will put on your sons and daughters, and so you will plunder the Egyptians. We're going to end there to just talk about that stuff. Moses has some questions. That's understandable. Though it is ballsy to question God. But I don't think he's doing this from a place of disbelief. This seems more like I am just so very confused right now. I need more than what you're telling me. I've got faith. I believe that you are who you are, and I believe that you can do all things. But how does this work through me? I am not a divine being. I'm just a man. How will I be your intermediary? And God gives him pretty good instructions, I think. I mean, obviously, God knows exactly what he's going to need to communicate to Moses to get it through his thick skull. But the part here at the beginning is, hey, you need to tell them this. You need to tell them who I am. You need to talk to the elders. You need to remind them of the covenant, and then you need to go to the king of Egypt, and you need to start making requests. And he's not going to grant your request. I already know, because that's how the king of Egypt is, and they're a bunch of jerks up there. So I've got my own little plan, and it involves just exercising just a wee bit of my power to let him understand where his place is in the universe and where my place is. and eventually you're going to go, and he's going to let your people go to the promised land, what they're eventually going to call the promised land, the land flowing with milk and honey and full of ites. It's full of ites, but he's going to lead them out of there. And not only are they going to be let go, but they're going to be given stuff by the households that they're working in and from the people. And they're going to give you treasures and belongings and household items that are valuable to them to take with you. And so you'll be very rich. He's putting it down now. He's telling you this is how it's going to go. And tomorrow's Friday. I normally don't stream on Friday. I think I will, though. I think I'm going to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow, we'll learn how seriously Moses takes this and how well he is faithful to God and how much of what God says comes true. Do anybody doubt what God says is going to happen? Come on. We are early in the Bible, but we weren't born yesterday. So, this whole time I've been reading and I haven't been sharing my screen. I'm going to get used to this, guys. Look. Streaming, this is still a new thing, but it's very simple steps. This is the times where I get frustrated with myself because I get so focused and into what I'm doing that I forget that I'm not taking the steps that I need. This is when I get frustrated with my own shortcomings. These are relatively small shortcomings. These aren't the issues that I deal with that are probably more than what is keeping me away from being closer to God. But again, it's something that I'll do to get. It is something that I'm trying to hold myself accountable for. I do want to read this while I'm going on with you guys, but this should be up. This should be up when I'm talking instead of y'all just looking at this mug the whole time. Cool, Word of God, beautiful. Anyway, guys, this is awesome. And we're going to continue to go into this. Again, like I said, I'm going to have Eric Rollon on the show on Monday. We're going to stream together. We're going to talk about, we're going to start a collaboration that I'm very excited about, where we kind of go into we're filling in some gaps with some research that he's done. And I'm very excited to talk to him about it. And he can give information that he's got, and I'm going to ask him some questions and get his take on things. Eric is a very affable dude, and one that I've been impressed with the amount of work and research he's done on the things that concern the Bible, kind of on his free time. So we're going to have him on, and hopefully that'll be my first time hosting I have no idea how I'm going to be as an interviewer. I might be terrible, but that's the way we're going to do it, and I'm very excited. I just need to do some more educating of myself on this medium, so I can bring multiple people on, because I have another gentleman who who is a friend of mine, who has had some interest in doing a Christmas stream. So if for some reason we are able to get that, and Eric has some desire to be on, we might have more than 2 people on the show, and that'll be cool. We can all talk about Christmas and what it means for us as Christians, and why December 25th, or why does it matter, or why do we celebrate, or why shouldn't we, or why should we. I've got my own opinions on that. Obviously, I'm going to share them. If I wasn't, then I wouldn't have this stream, right? Part of the stream is not just to give you the information from here, but also tell you what I have to think about it. So, that being said, I hope you guys all have a great evening, and please join me on Friday for more of this, and then that'll lead into a nice weekend for everybody. You guys stay safe, be blessed, and I will keep you guys in my thoughts and prayers. Good night, Godspeed.